Listen to me, my friend. This will all turn out well enough. It's what comes after that you should worry about. Last time we talked about Crocodile's past, but now we need to look into his future. What further plans does this guy have? But first, I want to cover a couple of basics that I skipped over in the last video. So, we know Crocodile is from Mon Moa, like Kirhasa. That is, if he's truly human and not just taking on that form, but we're not getting into that again. If only in appearance, he is Mon Moan. I do like, by the way, that it seems like the Mon Moans have this thing about double barrel names. Mon Moa, the Aura Moa, Kirhasa. I assume Hasa isn't her last name since no other character in the game has a surname in the dialogue boxes, so her name is probably Kirhasa something. Or maybe even Kirhasa something something, like both names are double barrel so they've got a quad name. But that leads us into probably the most obvious thing I failed to mention, Crocodile's real name, Gar Issa. Although to be honest, that might have more relevance when talking about his future than his past. It's almost like I planned it this way. But I didn't, I actually did just forget to mention it last time. But the reason it's relevant is due to the Mon Moa naming conventions. The Aura Moa, for example, is from Mon Moa. Now Crocodile says that Aura Moa is the Eye of God. Interestingly, not a god, just God. So if we were to take it that Aura Moa means Eye of God, then that could mean that Mon Moa is Land of God. But what does this have to do with our boy Gar? Well, in the Hero's Rest ending sequence, you'll see after leaving Van's Point, he founds a city called Fen-Issa. Fen-Issa. Perhaps Fen means city in Mon Moan and it's literally City of Issa. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that this happens in every variation of the ending, so we can be certain that this is one thing that definitely does happen in the future. And actually the same goes for Auron's contract with Crocodile. There's a little detail I've always liked about that. When you first sign it, Crocodile says you can just mark it with an X, you know, as a little jab calling Auron illiterate. But then when you see in the ending sequence, he actually did sign it with an X, and I just thought that was kind of funny. Auron can't write confirmed. Now, speaking of the contract, we should probably talk about Auron's debt and what Crocodile might get him to do. The ending says that Auron only travels south once more in his life, with the suggestion that it was to settle a debt, and, you know, pretty obviously talking about this one. So what could Crocodile be sending him to do, especially when Croc himself is moving even further north? Like, what ties does he have? What motivations to act? Well, he likes collecting crowns. I mean, he likes collecting a lot of things, but crowns in particular, even saying that they don't have long left to rule anyway. Is that simply a statement of his own confidence to destroy them all, or collect them all? Or does he know of some impending event that will shift the state of the world to no longer have crowns? Either way, one crown we know is in someone's sights is that of the King of Ashford, who also happens to be Festus Ashwood's uncle. Yeah, did you forget this dude's name is Festus? Me too. Ashwood's uncle, Ashford's king, was attacked by an assassin clothed in shadow. Shadow, huh? Now where has that come up before? Surely not one of the main mechanics used by Auron Grail, protagonist of hit indie game Prodigal. Veritas is a topic for another video, but suffice to say Auron is the first person who comes to mind with this line. Now, it goes on to say that Revulon then claimed the throne for herself, but it also mentioned that she and Crocodile continue to work together. So perhaps Crocodile traded Auron's favour for one directly from Revulon, but that doesn't seem too likely to me. It's been built up over the whole game that Auron has made himself extremely powerful and important, and I think Crocodile stands to gain a lot more from him rather than Revulon, especially since they're already working together. On the other hand, if Crocodile also gets something out of this assassination, then they could have simply agreed that that's what the favour would be. But what does Crocodile get out of it? Another crown to his collection? Is that really worth this favour? Or is he betting on the knock-on effect that this assassination might have? Well, given that he has a fortune teller working for him, and maybe living with him, he probably doesn't have to bet too much. By her own admission, Aura's fortunes don't predict an absolute outcome, especially when it comes to Auron and Crocodile, but knowing which way the threads currently lead would certainly give him an edge when it comes to strategizing. But again, that brings us to the question, strategizing for what? What is his grand scheme all leading up to? Building on an idea from the last video, that Crocodile is potentially a human ally of one of the original gods that earns some form of agelessness through their favour, I think he might have grown envious of their power and is trying to achieve godhood for himself. Now that might not work in a literal sense, but if he can become as or more powerful than the current gods, then what's the difference? And his root motivations for doing this at all? Monotheism! Okay, this is a wild theory that I don't necessarily believe is actually true, but what if Crocodile is trying to wipe out all the other gods in the name of Rayam? Going back to the Mon Moa, he says it's called the Eye of God. Not a god, just God, and we only know of one other group that denies all gods but one, the Church of Rayam. Crocodile is overthrowing kingdom after kingdom so that they'll be vulnerable to a takeover by Rayam's followers, which I'm just now realizing don't have an actual name. Like, what would you call them? Rayamians or something. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I don't really think this is likely to be the case. I think Crocodile just likes to be on top, pulling all the strings, maybe to gain power for power's sake, or maybe just doing it to see if he can. He certainly comes across as a journey over destination type fella. Like, he wants to make a spectacle of things, not just take over the world by any means necessary. He wants to have fun while doing it. And that's what I think is his true long-term goal, by the way. He doesn't want to be in full control of everything, he just wants to be able to be. Like, he wants to know everything and influence anything that takes his fancy. But don't forget, Crocodile also knows about Colorgrave and has probably even met her. And he also knows about Ladamra, the world of curse crackers. Aura has been sent there along with Illy, probably just for security. Aura doesn't really seem like much of a fighter, and she set up a room similar to that of Prodigal's VIP room, with the banners foretelling the current future path that the threads lead down. The fortunes themselves are something that I'll cover in their own video, but the point here is why Crocodile would bother taking an interest in this world. Like before, broad strokes, it's probably power for its own sake, but in terms of specifics, I think he wants one of two things: to change the fate of Ladamra in order to earn favour from Armadale, or to help Colorgrave in her return to Ladamra. Personally, I think it's the latter. He seems to get a lot more out of that deal. Colorgrave's favour plus an entire other world to explore and exploit. Now let's zoom in a little bit and talk about Phoenicia, the safest place in the frontier. This is probably going to serve as Crocodile's base of operations for the rest of the story. Isn't it a little strange though, that so many crowns supposedly want to overtake it? Like, I get that Crocodile probably has a lot of enemies, but this just seems like a lot of effort to go through. Come to think of it, why does Crocodile even move to begin with? He had a pretty good thing going in Vance Point. Seems to me like he could have just turned that into Phoenicia. But instead he went through all the trouble of relocating, and in the frontier of all places, a notoriously dangerous part of the world. I think maybe the place that Crocodile chose to build Phoenicia is a place of significance, or will be a place of significance. As I already said, he does have a fortune teller working for him. And the more we piece together his past and future, the more it seems like he's been planning everything that's been happening for a long time. For example, how does he fend off all of these what must be armies coming to claim his city? Well, it just so happens that he has a bunch of modified slot machines sitting in the back rooms of the casino. Now, at first you could see this as an extension of the slot machines are rigged joke, but then the boss that you fight in this very dungeon is a big slot machine robot. What if Crocodile has a bunch of these defending Phoenicia like it's the Strip in Fallout New Vegas? That have also been pretty helpful with moving his vast collection and building the town itself, actually. And speaking of helpful, there's also Zagel. Yeah, that's a segue, why not? It turns out Zagel is in Phoenicia, at least according to his tweets. Yes, Zagel has a Twitter account, like any honest merchant should. This morning arrive in Phoenicia. Is great town. Zagel can walk around in day and not cause screams. Many nice people of different kinds. After meeting with new friend Croakman, I go find Ern. Ern is what Zagel calls Oren, and it's pretty certain that Croakman is Crocodile. Unless, of course, there's going to be some kind of frog mafia boss as a rival for Crocodile. That'd be interesting. But hey, we might get to see Zagel again. Him teaming up with Crocodile seems a little suspicious, but come on, it's Zagel. He's an honest merchant. Would never tell lie. Croakman gave Zagel message for Ern. Is secret between friends, so I did not read. Zagel is honest. Many ship with Ashford flag arrive. Perhaps Zagel... Wait, Ashford? The place where the shadow-clothed assassin will go to kill its king. That Ashford. Ships have been arriving bearing its flag at the same time Croc gives a secret message to Oren, the guy with the 2 pieces of the Shadow God with him. Yeah, okay, Oren is definitely 100% the assassin that kills the King of Ashford. There's no way this is anything else. So to recap, Croc will have a continued alliance with Revulon, a new alliance with Zagel, he's going to claim his favour from Oren to kill the King of Ashford, and he's looking into manipulating the threads of fate in Ladamra as well as Lyrian, both of which might somehow connect to the specific place he chose to found Phoenicia. I mean, this man's really got his hands full. Anyway, that'll do it for that. Is Crocodile an immortal mastermind pulling all the strings, or is he a manipulative opportunist looking to get the most out of whatever and whoever he can? Only time will tell, but go ahead and share your own theories in the comments. I'm sure there's some angles to look at things that I haven't thought about, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Until next time.